Good day, mate. This is the FPL End of Season Awards. I'm joined by Holly Shand and Mira. We're going to be talking all things FPL, giving out some awards for the biggest flop, worst bandwagon, and player of the season, and much, much more. Definitely watch the rest of this video. And yeah, I've suited and booted for the occasion, so definitely smash a like for this gear, suited and booted, and a cap. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're joined by two special guests for the end of season FPL awards. So we're going through a list of special awards and deciding who deserves them and who will be given the trophy to, you could say. So I'm joined by Mira and Holly Shand. How are you going? How's the season going? How are you looking forward to the end of the season and the break, or are you going to be a bit gutted that it's over?
I mean, I'm going to be pleased that the season's over because it's probably been my worst season in quite a few years. It started off badly, obviously. You know, if you start bad, you can only improve, but I've not even improved as much as I was hoping for. So definitely feeling the burnout now. But I'm kind of looking forward to next season. Hopefully, we'll get a straightforward season for a change. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, no, we've had it
Yeah,
pretty rough with COVID
yeah.
and the Queen and all that. Um,
It's been crazy, hasn't it? That the whole season's been intense. So I think for me, it's been a really good season. I'm playing my second season, and so last season was very much about just kind of working out how to play the game, and so this season, I feel like I took it a little bit more seriously, started to learn the rules a bit more, and putting it into practice. And so yeah, I feel like I'm having a really good season. I've just got to 3.8k.
wow.
Which is great. I mean, like last season I ended at 190k or so, which I thought was all right, like given how many players, we had last season anyway, and obviously we've got more. But like you, Holly, I'm feeling a little bit of that burnout as well. Like I feel like I haven't been able to switch off entirely. And because I've been playing well, I feel like I've needed to take it a bit more seriously as well.
Yeah, it's been a long season though as well with the World Cup, and if you played the World Cup fantasy game as well, it kind of you didn't really have time to I guess enjoy it, and yes, and going on till near enough June as well with the Champions League middle of June, so it's definitely been a long season. Um, But yeah, yeah, for me as well, I've had probably my worst ever season. And I said the same last season, so it's the first time I finished outside the top 100k, and I normally win my friends and family mini league every year. But yeah, lost out last year, came third, and this season I'm joint top. Third place is 2 points behind, and fourth place is like 5 points behind. So it's going to be a tricky end of the season. Hopefully, I can get some team news and leaks and yeah, make that up and win the league. But
You know, it's been a bad season when you're struggling to win your friend and family mini leagues
yeah,
and you're normally like 100 or
Yeah.
200 points
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I literally won
Yeah,
it
my
like
friends and
seven.
family don't.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, go. I was just
I
going to
was,
say that yeah, my friends and family don't sort of talk about it with me anymore because I've
yeah,
won last year, and now they're just like, nah, you're dead to us.
yeah. No, but it's the same. It's the same for me. Like I won it 8 7 8 years in a row, and then when they're like recruiting, they're not even friends with these people. They just like met them in the pub or like they're just trying to find people to beat me. And then they finally found someone last year. Um, and it was horrible. It wasn't nice not winning. And I kind of rely on that money because like to go into my UK account so I can use that for like my mum's birthday present and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not been good. But we'll get on to the awards. So we'll start off with the best goalkeeper. So all of these awards, they don't have to be just like who you think. It could be personal reasons, in context of your team and your season. We'll start with you, Mira.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for the goalkeeper, I think it has to be David De Gea for me this season, especially. I didn't start with De Gea. I actually brought him in on my I think it was my wild card in 26 or 27, and he's just done great. Like, I've had so many. I think the majority of the clean sheets that he's kept, I've managed to have them. Managed to get those points, and it's been really good. Although, last night was a bit of a or this morning even, but last night was a bit of a pain with that sort of last minute clean sheet loss there. But yeah, David De Gea for me.
Yeah, that was I was happy with that because I had Shaw. So if Shaw can't get the points, then I don't want anyone to get the points. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, so I've gone a little bit outside the box and gone with Jason Steele. Now, I had Sanchez a lot at the start of the season. Picked Sanchez on the wild card the week that he got dropped for Steele. Quickly decided, well, I might as well get the other guy in. And he's been brilliant. I mean, he's only been in the side for about 10 games and he's got 6 clean sheets in that time. He's got an assist. He saved a penalty as well. And I know it's a small sample size, but if you're looking at goalkeepers in terms of points per match among the regulars, Steele is right up there on 4.5 points per game. And, even when he's not keeping clean sheets, he's, still getting save points and bonus points. And, he's got masses of potential. So he's been a nice one to own for the season running, and probably one that's going to be quite high on my list for the start of next season as well.
Yeah, nice.
Do you think he'll go up to 4.5 or even higher?
Yeah, definitely 4.5, maybe even 5. I think given Brighton's finishing position this season, I think he'll probably be 5 because, he's playing in the top half team. But, I always try and start the season with a 4.5 million goalkeeper, but maybe next season could be the exception.
Yeah. No, same. Yeah, I used to always go to 4.5s, but I started the season with Sanchez as well, but it wasn't until I got David Raya in that I actually started to get points. So from a goalkeeper, so yeah, I've gone for him. It's the bonus points for me. Like, you can even, I think it was against Wolves away. They lost 2-0 when he got 2 bonus points. Like, it's just unheard of. He racks up the save points as well, and he's been the only goalkeeper I've had in my team that has actually done well for me. I had Edison earlier on in the season. Shocking. He should have got an assist, but yeah, shocking overall. And I know a lot of people got him this time around as well, and he hasn't really done much apart from miss a few games. Yeah, yeah, no good really.
Yeah, so many facepalm moments with Edison.
Yeah, because you just expect City. They don't concede many goals. That's the thing. It's just that one-off, like the one consolation goals, or just one-off goals. So it's a little bit annoying, and you're not going to get save points from him either. So you're just relying on them clean sheets. Well, we'll move on to the defense. I'll go first. So I've gone for Trippier. Just for that beginning of the season, I had him I'm pretty sure I had him from the start. Just again, bonus points coming off, and then Newcastle concede after that. Just a little like jammy moments, assists. Obviously, he fell off after the World Cup. So this is really a half a season, I'd say, an award, because he didn't really deserve it after that. But no one else has been as good for me, I'd say, in my team. Maybe a Stupinan recently, but I have to go with Trippier. We'll go Holly with your best defender.
Yeah, same for me, Trippier. I mean, I started the season on a 4-4-2 with 4 premium defenders. No sign of Trippier in there, and it quickly changed so that Trippier was the go-to. And he started the season at 5 million, which is just insane given his output. It's a shame that he has regressed a little bit in the last few weeks, because he looked like he could break the record as the highest scoring defender in the game. He's had some big scores though still since the restart, and he's always up there for bonus as well, and double digits for attacking returns this season. I'm a little bit wary of how much he's going to be next campaign, but I feel like he's just so consistent that you're going to have to just plug him in.
Yeah, no, he's literally been essential probably all season, and I'm sure we'll start the season with him. Mira?
Yeah, I was close to picking Trippier, but I actually went with Mings very early on, and that's when I managed to bag all of those Mings points as well. And so I feel like I had a really good start to the season, and I'm not sure what sort of came over me to pick Mings when I did, but he was getting, I think, you know, it was very early, and he was getting assists, and he scored a couple of times as well. He was like returning double digits week after week, and I was so lucky that I brought him in when I did, because he was so lowly owned, maybe like around, not sure, like 4%, you know, 10% max, but by the time I'd actually got rid of him as well. And so I actually held on to him till my wild card and got rid of him during my wild card. But he just continued to just bang them in as well, and get those clean sheet points. And I think there was a period when Aston Villa just started to play really well and keep those clean sheets. And so I was really gutted that I got rid of him when I did. But I'm so glad that I brought him in when I did as well, because he was so lowly owned that, yeah, I managed to get some really good points out of that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've got a funny story with Mings actually. So, funny you said that he's done well for you. So I think a wild card draft video, and I had Mings in there. But it was mainly for the blanks, and then okay, you play an odd game, and then someone commented, "I'll stop watching as soon as you put Mings in." And then ever since that day, he literally smashed it. I think he got 15 points against, or 12 points against Bournemouth, then 8 against Chelsea, 6 Forest, 6 Newcastle, and 15 against Fulham at home.
Yep.
Like this is post like 27, 28. It's just so funny. Like I didn't even pick him to start, but it was just funny, that comment just got me. Like yeah, I stopped watching when you picked Mings. But yeah, that was good. And yeah, midfielder. Do you want to go first, Mira?
Yeah, sure. So midfield, I've got Martinelli, and I actually brought in Martinelli from game week 1. And again, you know, he just kept returning week after week after week. I can't even remember how long until he started blanking a little bit. But unfortunately, again, you know, I took him out from my team, and that's when I think he got benched, and there was, you know, and Trossard had just come into Arsenal, and so there was a little bit of like uncertainty around him starting and playing, and you know, so there was a lot of conversation around that. And so I managed to get all these points off of him like much earlier on in the season, and then got rid of him for Odegaard. And Odegaard like stopped returning by that point as well. So it was actually, you know, Martinelli again getting back in there. And I think Saka was getting quite a few points back then as well. But then rather than being stubborn about it, I just brought him back in again. But he just played so well. Like Martinelli was, I feel like he was priced incorrectly, you know, this season. I guess like they probably didn't know where to price him at as well, or what to expect from him. But I think he was in at about 6 mil. Or maybe even less than that. I'm not even sure. But perhaps it was around sort of 6 mil. And so 6 mil for, you know, such a great, like, active and just getting up there forward, but also just getting in the box constantly as well. It just, yeah, it was just insane to have him that low. And so very quickly he was, yeah, he had a high EO straight away. But yeah, really benefited from having Martinelli in my team.
Yeah, no, he was great. Definitely underpriced as well. Holly?
Yeah, so I've gone with Marcus Rashford for this one. And I think when the prices were revealed at the start of this season, we was all flabbergasted to see him at 6.5 million. He dropped by like 3 million. And we knew that at some point he'd be, you know, an absolute bargain. And that came to fruition quite early on. I made the mistake of not going with him after the restart. But yeah, as soon as I got him in, he was delivering every week. He's been quite a handy alternative captain pick in weeks where we've not wanted to go with Haaland. He's had his best ever season, over 200 points, scored 17 goals as well. I think only Salah among midfielders has got more goals. So, you know, he's made an absolute mockery of that price tag, being great value for money. And, you know, it's going to be a shame to see him going up in price again for the next campaign. But, you know, it's great to see him as an FPL option once again and, you know, actually fulfilling his potential.
Yeah, no, there's loads of good price midfielders at the start as well. I remember that like kind of that 6.5 to like 7.5 range where you had like I think Odegaard, Martinelli, Rashford, and then obviously Saka was 8. A lot of people I think were getting like a 4 or 5 midfielder with like the mid price. I went for like Salah, Kane, and Haaland. I think so. I kind of missed out on all them players. I had to go like Andreas and Harrison Reed and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely missed out earlier on in the season. But yeah, I went for Rashford as well. I managed to get him before kind of his first little run before the World Cup. And then after the World Cup, I decided to do something not very smart at all. So I went for Martial instead of Rashford. And it really hurt me right after the World Cup, especially for that first double game week where I think Martial got injured in the first half of the first game. And then Rashford like scored a couple goals. So that hurt me, but yeah, it's been great for me all season. Midfield's been a really tricky spot for me, to be honest. I just haven't really nailed good players down. Again, I had Salah in there from the start of the season, and he weren't really doing much either. And then because of that, I had Kane and Haaland. I had to go budget on the midfield, and this was before like Brighton assets were a thing. So Rashford was my only sort of consistent one. For forward, I've gone always like Haaland, but I've gone for Kane, to be honest, as well. So I'll talk about Kane. I've had him for all of the season near enough. I took him out right before the Fulham double game week for Mitrovic, who ended up getting a yellow card and blanking in the second game, and then Kane scored 2 against Palace. So that was a horrible decision. But apart from that, Kane's just been ticking away 7-8 points every week. It's just what you want really from a player that you're not really going to captain because you've got Haaland there. So yeah, just ticking away. He's been the best forward for me, and actually made a difference when he scores, well, unlike Haaland. Holly, what about you?
Yeah, I've gone the same. Harry Kane. I mean, he's like, if Haaland didn't exist, Kane would be 80% owned plus in FPL this season, because he's just been so consistent. I started the season with Kane over Haaland. Obviously, Kane blanked game week 1, made the switch to Haaland. But then, even though Haaland was phenomenal, Kane was doing a business every single game. And I've quite enjoyed owning Kane for the run-in, where a lot of managers haven't, because he's continued to deliver those scores. His best ever season. I'm hoping he bags another couple of goals in game week 38 to, score the most goals of that he's ever scored in a Premier League season, hit the 250 points. I think he deserves that. Just been incredible, really. And, you think about how bad Spurs have been this season. I'm intrigued to know what happens next season, whether he's still a Spurs player come game week 1. I think we've had seasons in the past where we've not been able to select him for game week 1 because there's been a lot of speculation. So hopefully wherever he is by the start of next season, he's settled so that we can pick him from the off.
Yeah, hopefully he's still at Spurs, you mean? Mira?
So I actually, this is where I was going to go for Haaland, and I didn't. But I ended up going for Wilson. And so none of the recency bias, like obviously Wilson has been absolutely on fire and insane recently. However, I actually brought him in back in, I think it was like game week 13 or 14, and he bagged a 19-point haul. And so for me, that was actually a huge pivotal moment for my season, because I went from, I think I was like mostly around the 50k sort of mark, and that just catapulted me into like the 20k mark, like just bringing in Wilson for that 19 pointer, or I think it was like a 15 or 19 pointer or something like that. And I think he sort of had one more return sort of after that as well, and then dropped off. But that for me was like a pivotal moment of, jumping up in a, massive rank jump. And, big shout out to the FPL community in Australia, because it was at the social where I was talking to some of the FPL managers over there who were like, who are you going to pick? Who are you going to pick, for your forward? And I was like, I'm not sure. Like, who do you reckon? And they were like, you got to go for Wilson. And it was so bizarre because he was so, again, really lowly owned, but he exploded that, those couple of game weeks, those 2 game weeks even. So for me, that was like probably the biggest turning point of my season.
Yeah, that must have been massive, because like back then, Newcastle attack weren't really a thing. It was mainly double defense and maybe Almiron, but forwards, people weren't really looking at them. So that must have been Yeah, it must have been huge.
Yeah, I just had a look. It was game week 14, 19 points against Villa. That was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. We'll go for player of the season next. So we'll go. Do you want to start off, Mira?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I went with Haaland over here. This was the pick where I was like, yeah, this has got to be Haaland. I think he's been consistently returning. I mean, I can't even remember. I can't remember how many hat tricks he's had, but he's just had so many, and he's been assisting as well. It's been really good to see him actually play a bit more as a team member, like a team player, because there's been, obviously we know Haaland as being like this absolutely ruthless, bullyish forward who is always going to go for goal, right? Like he is making records, breaking records, the rest of it. So I think to see him sort of be that team player and get, and pass when he probably could have taken a shot as well. That's really good to see. I mean, given that it's his, first season as well. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect from Haaland. I brought him in, season right at the beginning of the season. I'm pretty sure I had him from game week 1, and even then, I wasn't too sure. Playing my second season, I was like, oh, how good could this guy really be? And how is this going to really shape up? And then I remember sort of talking to some friends, and they were like, no, you got to bring in Haaland. Like he's going to be insane. So I'm glad that I did, but yeah, I think all rounder, like he's been incredible to watch as well, and just keeps going from, like a level above, everyone. I think Kane probably would have, topped this. Like he probably would have got, in my opinion, the, player of the season, because he's been so consistent, but Haaland's just been on a different level.
Yeah, it's just not. You just literally you don't. He's breaking records. You don't see it, do you? Like even having a captain, like the captain choice, weren't really a thing this season. Obviously, people went Salah earlier on in the season, but just having like like people say permanent captain as a thing, but we don't really like. Okay, Salah was, but there were other options. This season there was no other option. Yeah, same for me, Haaland. Holly.
Yeah, so I've kind of gone a bit different here because I didn't want to pick Haaland for every single response. So I've actually gone with Martin Odegaard here because, Arsenal really took us by surprise this season, having such an incredible season. And, the team has been built around Odegaard, and he's actually their top goal scorer in the Premier League this season with 15. He's behind just Haaland, Kane and Salah in terms of fantasy points for the season. And when you bear in mind that he started the season at 6.5 million, of all the attacking players in the game, he's been the best value. The only frustration is that, I've hopped like a lot of managers have done between the Arsenal midfielders and never really, owned him for his big hauls. But he's the one that's been, explosive in terms of his double-digit hauls that he's achieved this season compared to Martinelli and Saka. So yeah, I think he's been phenomenal, and we've been so lucky, haven't we, having these Arsenal midfielders at that 6-7 million bracket that they took us by surprise. I saw somewhere today that only one of the teams in the top 4 this season was in the top 4 last season, and it's kind of made FPL easy in a way because we've had these assets from Arsenal, from Newcastle and Man United that have been priced a lot cheaper than your traditional top 4 teams would be, and they've been the ones that have been consistently delivering us points.
Yeah, it's been a good thing, and but at the same time, I think it's hurt the game maybe a little bit. I kind of enjoyed getting like the Crystal Palace defenders, the Van Aanholts and stuff like that. But not being able to make them like lower league or lower parts of the league picks. I don't know. It's kind of put me off a little bit. Not put me off the game, but just made it a little bit more predictable.
We've been
I'd
a bit
say.
spoiled for choice as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
Particularly, when it's been like wild card and bench boost season. Like you've had so many like really good players on your bench that like it's because everyone's been such great value. You've been able to get your freemium in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
You've had that difficulty of who to start and who to bench because you've got these Arsenal players, Brighton players, that United players at fantastic value that you automatically put your cheaper players on the bench, but it's like you can't bench them.
No,
Yeah,
you
so
literally
true.
can't. Even Andreas, like, is 4.4 million, 4.5 million, and
Yeah.
he was delivering every week at one point. But yeah, there's been so many good options, which I guess is it's fun to own different players and be able to mix it up a bit. Um, but yeah, we'll move on to best new player. Um, Holly, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so this is where I've gone with Haaland, and I've got to hold my hands up and admit I was wrong. I thought I was being clever at the start of the season, not going with Haaland. Thought, give him a couple of games, see how he gets on, and then if he is delivering, bring him in. He's absolutely blown me away with what he's achieved this season, and I've always had this rule in FPL of, there's no need to back players that are new to the Premier League, and you can get them in when you've decided that they're the ones to own. There's been so many bandwagons in the past. I'm thinking like Timo Werner a couple of seasons ago went into the season like 50% owned, and there's always that player that has that high price tag that everyone buys and they flop. But Haaland's just been world class, sensational. It's a shame that he hasn't broken the record for most points in a season. I don't even think he's going to get for the most forward points in a season. Shouldn't have given that penalty to Gundogan a few
Yeah,
weeks ago, but still
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah. And it's been incredible. I was just looking at his season, and the first time he blanked was game week 11 against Liverpool away. So 10 game weeks without a blank. Incredible. Mira?
So with this one, I've gone with Matoma. And I think like admiring, like or slightly admiring, Brighton from I think much earlier on as well, even when like Potter was there, they were playing pretty decent. And I'm not sure what I was expecting from Brighton. But I think under De Zerbi, Matoma's just been absolutely insane. And he's just been such a delight to watch as well. And I mean, he's written a thesis on dribbling, right? Like, yeah, maybe he needs to write a thesis on finishing more recently. But he's been an absolute delight, and I think just surprised us and being at sort of I think he came in at like what 5 mil, and that's insanely cheap, right, for a midfielder who is absolutely phenomenal, like just getting up there, getting forward. Just it's almost like the ball, the football is just magnetically like glued kind of thing to Matoma's feet because the way he sort of dribbles, it's such a delight to watch. So I think like as the best new player in my opinion, I think just watching someone like Matoma come in and take the Premier League by storm, has been really good to see and watch as well. I'm very excited to see how he sort of ends up priced, next season. I reckon he's probably going to be like at that sort of 7 mil mark at least. Yeah, no, just such a, I've just been enjoying watching him, whether he returns or not. It's just been a delight watching him.
No, yeah, 100%. I was gonna say exactly the same thing. No, my pick's not Batoma, but just watching someone attack the defender, and it just reminds me a bit of Aaron Lennon. Growing up, just watching Aaron Lennon for Spurs, just he gets the ball and that's it, straight at the fullback. Yeah, no, he's a great player. I've actually gone for Estupinan, so a bit of recency bias, I guess. But just having that cheap option from a team that's not going to get a clean sheet every week, but he's always looking, attacking and threatening. Sometimes he's like the furthest player forward, a bit like Marcus Alonso when he was at Chelsea, just getting into the box. Maybe he should have got a few more returns. He's only got 1 goal this season, but 7 assists. You can't really complain with someone that was 4.5 million. So yeah, I've gone for Stupinan.
Yeah, nice.
Next up, we've got best enabler / cheap option. I'll go first. We just went for Andreas. I just thought that's the start of the season. He was just doing so many good things. Again, probably fell off post World Cup, but I've gone for best cheap option because you knew if you did need him off the bench, he was probably not going to get you probably not going to get you anything. But if you didn't need him, then he would get you a goal just sitting on your bench. But a few times, because I had that Salah, Kane, and Haaland, it's a few times I was playing him, And I think at some point I decided to upgrade one of the midfield slots to get an Arsenal mid in. So I had to play Andreas, and yeah, he did pretty well for me. Again, 4.5 million, an assist every 3 games or goal every 6 games. It's not that bad. So it kind of enabled me to have that free premium option. Holly, what about you?
Yeah, so I've gone Matoma in this slot because I think the thing that I've liked about him the most is that he's an absolute stat buster as well. Because, you know, I'm quite a stats driven FPL manager, and having that player that, you know, maybe isn't posting massive numbers for shots, chances created, but still delivering the goods makes him a really fun pick. And he's made it easy in this second half of the season in terms of being able to afford the players that you want. And, you know, I like you thinking on Andreas, but Matoma's been that enabler that you've actually been able to play every week and enjoy the points. Instead of having that frustration of benching his points. And again, you know, really interested to see how he's priced for next season, because, you know, he's been fantastic, and stat busters are my favourite.
Mira?
Yeah, I actually went with Andreas as well. And interestingly, I managed to play him. I think I just had other issues in my team. And so very nervously, I was playing Andreas, and he was, you know, I think I managed to bag a couple of his 10-pointers and 8-pointers. And so I feel like I got really lucky. In fact, I feel like my whole season has been, you know, driven by some of those decisions that I would like to have made myself, but ended up sort of being forced into making. And that includes, you know, playing Andreas over, you know, someone that was out injured, like Madison, for example. And so, yeah, it was really good to kind of be in a position to play him. There were those frustrating moments where, you know, when I did consciously play him and he just did not get anything, and they were the easier fixtures as well. So it was, you know, as such a cheap forward, yeah, sorry, a cheap midfielder. I feel like he was just there, you know, for that. So I think, did you say that he was like 4 mil?
4.5 we started with.
Yeah, there you go. And he'd stayed around that sort of that price tag as well.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise, given, you know, how many people had owned him and kept bringing him in as well. So yeah,
he even dropped to 4.3. I think he's about 4.3 now, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, no, he was honestly like great for me having that free premium. I think I started the season with Jacob Murphy and Andreas. So I went, proper budget just to get that free premium in.
yeah.
And Jacob Murphy was a weird one as well, because he looked good and he looked like he had that spot like locked up, but just never really got the points for me at the right time. So next up, we've got best short-term punt. So I've actually got a pretty good one. I went for Zuma on my wild card in game week 12, and in game week 13, he scored a goal, 3 bonus clean sheet against Bournemouth. So that was massive for me. He was only really there for that game because I think Trippier had Spurs away in that week, so it was literally just for that game. And yeah, it got me to 15 points. And I really needed it at that time as well. I was struggling to climb up the ranks. So yeah, Zuma did good for me then. Mira?
I actually went with Madison with this one, and I managed to bring him in around that game week 9, and he bagged an 18-pointer back then. And so, like, again, it was like another leap. So I think earlier I mentioned about a bit of a leap that I had around game week 15, but I think game week 9 was where I sort of jumped into that 50k sort of mark, and that was huge, you know, like, again, you know, but he was pretty rubbish, you know, straight after for quite a few game weeks as well. And I'm pretty sure I sort of just held him, and then he got injured, and then he was on my bench for quite a while as well. But again, it was just a really big sort of jump as well. And he was the puntiest pick that I'd made, you know, that earlier on in the season as well. And yeah, I remember sort of being really cautious and worried about it because, yeah, you know, not managers were going for him then. Yeah, it was a huge jump, you know, for me. But that's probably the short term. I think I also had like Foden in mind, as well. But then, yeah, I brought him in and then was very quick to take him out. But Maddison definitely sort of tops that one.
Yeah. We forget how good Maddison was before the World Cup. Like, remember all the talk,
Yeah.
like around the England squad, like, oh, Maddison has to be in, and then he got injured.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just forget. I don't know. I just forget how long. Again, like we spoke about earlier, how long this season is, and yeah, how good he was before the World Cup. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, so I guess a big one for me was Nketiah, who I brought in after the restart and got that flurry of points, including the 13-pointer in game week 21 at home to Manchester United, where he scored a brace. And that was kind of one of the big turning points of my season in terms of moving up the rankings. I think my game week rank that week was 66,000, and it was the first time I properly got myself in the top 1 million, which just shows how shocking my season had been to that point.
Yeah, no, I think I benched him for that game. I did have him from the restart as well, but I think I benched him, or I think Arsenal had they had United, Liverpool, I think Spurs like 3 and 4 games. So I think maybe I've took him out. Yeah, that was horrible. And worst bandwagon. So I could have gone for Isak. I could have gone for Grealish. It's been terrible since I got him. But I've gone for the whole McNeil Tarkowski before double game week 25. So I got both of them in. Tarkowski got 0, and I think McNeil got 1. So that was the worst sort of bandwagon I've jumped on when I got them out straight away. So I know a lot of the community were trying to punt on Everton players, but yeah, shocking. We just thought because they beat Arsenal 1-0 with a Tarkowski goal that they'd do that every game, but that was very far from the truth. What about you, Holly?
Yeah, so harping back to the start of the season, game week 1, Pedro Neto is really, really popular. I think he started the season in 1.5 million teams. Blanked all of the first 8 game weeks, then got injured. Has only got 2 assists this season. So yeah, that pretty much sums up how good a bandwagon he was at the start of the season. There's always one at the start of every season. Generally a budget player that, was got a brace in a game in pre-season. Everyone's like, right, he's the budget player to go for that's going to enable everything else, and they flop. And this year it was Neto.
Yeah, no, I remember that in a load of people's teams.
I almost forgot about Neto and that whole thing happening. I remember there was so much buzz. There was just so much buzz around him. And then I think it was between Neto and someone else, actually, another player from Wolves, where there was a bit of contention between those two, like which one would be the best one to go for. I don't know if it was like Podence or something like that. I can't remember. There was a bit of, back and forth on that. That was hilarious. So I've actually gone for Foden on this one because I totally missed some of the points that he was. Yeah, I think he was a starter. He was playing week after week. He was in the strongest starting 11 that Pep had at the beginning of the season. He was bagging I think in his second game week he was 9 points, and then he had a couple of 2-pointers, 4-pointers, and then he got an 8-pointer and then a 19-pointer and then an 11. So I was like, oh my god, what am I doing not getting this guy, not getting this player in at the moment? And so I did. I think it was around game week 13 or something, and this is when Brighton were average. They were still sort of playing okay but not terribly. And so I remember sort of bringing him in, then, and then it was just a whole load of binary sort of ones and, and zeros or twos or whatever. And I then took him out, and then he got a 9-pointer or something like that. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And it was around the time where there was many FPL managers like me who had decided, you know what, I'm not going to bring Foden in. I'm not going to bring Foden in. And then we all did it. And I must admit, I've sort of been very conscious about the whole sort of Twitter FOMO and just jumping on bandwagons like that. And so this occasion, I got sucked in to that bandwagon and deeply regretted it as well.
Yeah.
No.
And even it's not good, and you still it's like me with So like I do marketing, and I know what they're trying to do. Like I know when they color it this way and they use this font and they place this here, I know what they're doing, and I still always fall for it. Or if something's on sale, I'm like, wow, it's on sale, what a great deal. And I know what they're doing, and I still fall for it. It just reminds me a bit of FPL Twitter. I know what's going
Ugh.
on, but I still fall for it. And then when you don't do it, you know it's going to pay off, and everyone's got him. And yeah, you can
Yeah.
never really win with them sort of things. Biggest flop. Holly, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I've picked out Cancelo here, who was really heavily backed at the start of the season, including in my team, and he got 3 or 4 really decent scores in the first few game weeks of the season, and then got that red card, fell out of favour, and completely disappeared. And you know, it's crazy. Like, he's still in 17.8% of teams, which just shows you how many dead teams there are in the game. But you know, 7 million, he was expensive, and we backed the premium defense because premium defenders had done so good the season before. And then, you know, you look at our teams now at the end of the season, and you know, so many of those assets have fallen by the wayside. And you know, that Cancelo thing was just huge at the time. Like, I couldn't quite believe that it happened.
It's out of
Yeah.
nowhere as well. Like it wasn't, and he got that red card. Was it a red card? Yeah, and
Yeah.
people captain him as
Yeah.
well for that game.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. He's like expected more from him. Even when he was here, it wasn't like he was performing.
No.
But yeah. Mira.
I've gone with James. I'm
Mm,
deeply disappointed by James because again, you know, I'm pretty sure I brought him in quite earlier on in the season as well, and he's just not turned up. I feel like the season. Obviously, he's very injury prone. He's always been injury prone. We know that. And you know, it was the same sort of thing last year, like with James and Chilwell, but it was great to see Chilwell coming back, and he was getting those returns as well. So I think between those two, it was always going to be tricky who to pick. But I think because James was the one that was, I don't know, maybe 80%, 70% sort of fit, like tentatively fit majority of the time. I brought him in and sort of just held on to him in that sort of hope that Chelsea would just turn things around, and you know, lo and behold, we are still, you know, not really sort of seeing that happen. And you know, maybe it will be a different set, you know, circumstances next season. But James was really disappointing. I'm pretty sure he's not had a double-digit haul this season either. Like I think the most he's managed to bag is like a seven pointer or something like that, and that was much earlier on in the season. But we know how well James can play. We know what his attacking returns look like, right? It's like a moment's notice he could be bagging like a 15, 16 pointer easily. And so, yeah, I think for me, the biggest flop, and I brought him in and I held on to him, like just in hope that he would play and he would even just come on. And because we've seen James get on for like 10 minutes and just haul hard. So yeah, I'm pretty disappointed that I held on to him as long as I did. But yeah, definitely the flop for me.
yeah. No, I feel like the attacking fullbacks is kind of a common thing. I guess Trippier and now Trent recently has changed that a little bit, but how good Cancelo and James were last year. I think I even captained James. One of the last season, the season before, in a double game week. So yeah, that fall has been shocking. I was gonna go for Heung-min Son because just how far he's fell from top goal scorer to this season. He's still got 10 goals, so it's not the worst season, but just from the heights. But I've gone for a moment, which has kind of been like a biggest flop that I've made managerially, sort of thing. So in the double game weeks, I took out Kane, and went for, I just can't believe I did this. I took out Kane and went for Jota, but that meant not going Salah because I just did my 2 transfers, took out Kane, got Jota in, and then went Trent instead. And Jota was like the biggest flop, literally. He was injured. I think he came on one game, started one game, ended up with like 2 points, got taken off before the 60. And then that meant going without Salah and without Kane, because I took out Kane for him. So that moment kind of Even though I've increased rank since then, but that moment for me just still hurts. Just taking out, not having Salah or Kane when I started the season with Haaland, Salah, and Kane. It's like my team's got worse, like
Yeah.
from the start of the season. I should have just stuck to my guns, gone like kept the three big guns, knowing that's almost guaranteed points, and then let the rest of the team kind of work itself out. But I tried to went for the double game weeks. Thought Jota was doing well. He got I think 2 goals before that double game week, and he's starting most games. But yeah, not having Salah or Kane when I started the season with Haaland, Salah, and Kane, it's just yeah, just horrible.
Mm.
And we'll end with a happy note. So favorite moment or game week of the season. Mira, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think I've got two. And I was a bit tentative about sort of picking two. But I think I sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier, just the the rank sort of side of things. I think I've started taking FPL a lot more seriously this year, purely because initially it was all about sort of working out how to play the game and sort of try and wrap my head around it. Like last season, I played my triple captaincy in game week 2 or 3 or something like that, not knowing that there were going to be double game weeks, and so I really sort of misfired massively last season. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna definitely sort of learn about it this season. So I think for me it was that triple captaincy on Rashford in game week 22, which was huge, and getting that right and getting some of my, I guess, the chips that I played, getting those right have been, like when I say right, I guess like to the point where it gave me a bit of a boost in the rank, especially in my mini leagues as well. But I think very close to that was also game week 29 as well. That's when I started to kind of tippy toe around the 10k kind of mark, and then I think it was game week 32 finally I broke 10k and then stayed in 10k, which has been fantastic. And so breaking into 5k over the last sort of game week has been phenomenal for me, like from an experience point of view. And I've not even been playing like hardcore. Like I've just been sort of making my moves when I've felt like making my moves and not overthinking things, and there was a massive period of my season, where the rank boosts have come in, where I've been traveling. I was backpacking around Peru for 3 weeks with no signal, Wi-Fi, and the rest of it. And so I was making my transfers much earlier on, and so having some of those boosts to get to that point where I could be in a position to be in that 10k was just great. And that triple captaincy sort of doubled with the few punty picks that I made really did help.
Yeah, keep that energy though. Keep don't let things like sway you. Just keep doing what you're doing, because the longer you play, the more you're going to listen to other people and Twitter. But yeah, definitely keep that energy. Holly?
Yeah, so for me, it was game week 33 where I scored 94 points. I think my game week rank was like 38k, moved me into the top 200k for the first time in the season. And it was a period in the season where everyone was like moaning because, everyone's team's the same. And, it just goes to show that, those one or two differences in your squad can really make the difference. And, Steele and Mings both got double digits that week, which really catapulted me. I also had Kane when Kane was a bit out of favour. People were going more with Salah because of doubles, and I kept him and he got double digits. And, it's that reassurance that you're making the right decisions and you're finally getting the right outcomes from those right decisions. Just gave me a little bit of hope for the run-in when it's been a tough season.
Yeah, it's nice to like get them moments where it's like, oh, I do know what I'm talking about, or I do know what I'm doing, or I do, I do know this sport. I've been watching all my life, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice to get that confidence. I know what you mean. I had like so in terms of like game week, 29 was great for me. 144 points and a game week rank of like 50,000. So that was great. But like for me, I just look for them little moments where it's like, oh, okay, like stick with your gut sort of thing. So right before the World Cup, I brought in Alvarez when Haaland was injured. So the week after, I was just looking to take him out straight away. And I had like the exact money for Darwin, and everyone's been moaning all season, like, yeah, no, Darwin's no good. He misses sitters. He don't get him in. He's a joke. This, that. But like for me, I was just looking. I'm like, this guy is like gets in so many good positions. Like he's gonna score goals eventually. So I did it was straight move Alvarez to Darwin. Like it was just the obvious move for me. It just came like it just literally came to me straight away, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And it was right before the World Cup, so the last game week, and he got 2 goals, 3 bonus, and it just like sent me into the World Cup with like that feeling of like, okay, the season's still going. You still know what you're doing, half know what you're doing. You still can make good decisions, and just kind of go with the obvious move, because I think I've been trying to, like maybe before that, I've been trying to do something a bit smart and a bit clever. Because I'm normally used to like leading my mini leagues, but I've had like quite slow starts the last 2 seasons, so I'm always trying to do something different. But if I just keep doing what I think's right straight away, rather than look for the other avenue, um, I'll make better decisions. So that was one for me on like a personal note, just going into the World Cup on a good game week, to be honest. But yeah, that's it.
I have
That's
to
it for,
agree.
yeah. Go on.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to add to that. I completely agree with you. Like, just the obvious move is sometimes the move, and I think like because and I don't know how I'm going to play like next season or the season after, and the more I play, maybe that kind of becomes less obvious, right? The obvious moves. But I've definitely found like the obvious moves, for me have been the ones that have worked out, and some of them have been very templatey, but just not overthinking things as well.
Yeah. I think when you think like you're going into a game week and you're thinking that, okay, I've got one transfer, what can I do? I think it's just much easier. Like I think thinking about taking hits, or thinking about uh even banking up a transfer, um maybe like confuses it a little bit. I don't know. Just the fact that like doing this can lead to this, then I can do this. Or what about if I do, like, why not be like, okay, who's got good fixtures, who's not been performing in my team? Just do the swap. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not that simple. Well, I've proved that this season is not that simple, um, but yeah, it's just I think you just got to go with your gut sometimes. Like taking the information, but at the end of the day, just try and go with your gut.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, doesn't it? Like, you feel like when you're in the Twitter bubble, everyone has the same team, but you look at people's ranks at the end of the season and they're massively different, and
Yeah.
that one difference here and there can send your season in completely different directions. So there's plenty to learn and take on board, and bear in mind for the next season. And I'm just excited to see where FPL goes as well in the next season, whether we get any changes,
Yeah.
whether it goes even more mainstream. It's
Yeah,
exciting
true.
times.
It can
Yeah.
only get bigger. Look how big like the NFL game is, and even the AFL game in Australia over here is pretty big. So I just think it's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. Even when I first kind of joined Twitter and YouTube, and I'm just chatting to people from like all over the world, and I'm just like, wow, like I didn't even realize. I knew it was like obviously the Premier League, everyone loves the Premier League all around the world, but FPL, I don't know, I didn't think it was going to be that global, and yeah, it's nice to see, and it can only get bigger, and hopefully better. Yeah. Anything to add? How would you rate the season as a whole? Boring that City keep winning it, or happy Arsenal didn't win it like I am?
I mean, it's been exciting in terms of the league and the outcomes, even though it's kind of like obviously top of the table, so not before the final day, but it has been like the Premier League's been really unpredictable. In terms of you look at the teams that have finished in the top half, and some surprises at the bottom of the table. So that's made it really exciting. The football to watch has been really enjoyable. FPL's kind of I was hoping that this would be the first straightforward season in a while, and it hasn't been. So carrying those hopes into the next campaign.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I have.
Sorry, go on.
I have to admit, yeah, same. Like, I'm really impressed that the three promoted sides are not being relegated for a change. Like, one of them is not being relegated minimum, and also to see, three new teams in the top four as well is just great. It's really changed things up. And I think it's, all the typical top four that we know from the Premier League, right? That's a massive kind of a bit of a, I don't know, a kick in the teeth for them, to kind of go, right, we need to rethink the way we play our game next season. So yeah, it's fantastic to see.
Yeah. And as we were saying earlier, there's been so many options like Arsenal, United, Brighton, even Brentford have had a few. And this is all without Chelsea. Like Chelsea players haven't really been an option. Maybe the first couple game weeks they have, but other than that, they haven't been. Even Spurs, Kane's been the only option. So yeah, we're gonna have a load of teams to pick from next season. It's probably only gonna make things harder, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun, and we'll find some hidden gems. We'll wrap up the video. Holly, do you want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube at Holly Shand, and on TikTok at Holly_Shand.
Cool. And Mira at FPL Mez 8 on Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. I'm only on Twitter. So I'm FPL Mez 8 on Twitter. You can find me there.
Cool. All right. Well, that was it for this video. Thanks for coming on, both of you. Hopefully you've had a good time and got to give out some awards.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for
having me. It was great.
On.
It's nice to reflect.
This is the start of a end of season tradition.
Yeah, why not? Why not? There'll be more videos coming, so maybe we can get you both on a few more. Just trying to fill up the summer, really. And I feel like there's a bit of a gap for football content, but with an FPL twist. So yeah, hopefully we can put out a few more videos before next season. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Trying to hit 600 before next season, so let's try and hit that, and yeah, like the video as well. That'd be great. And yeah, good luck for the summer, whatever you're doing.